with my two friends here, Olive Watson and Bill Watson. And Bill, how old did you say you are?
I'm 93 now.
93, and you're married to Olive, who is 102. And first of all, you were born in, I think you said 1909. So from some of your earliest memories as a young person, what was life like? Did you have cars and radios and TVs? Was there such thing as a television when you were a child?
No. We didn't even have an inside toilet. We had the little toilets outside, and we had no electricity, no running water unless you run for it, wells, and sometimes later on we got pumps. You'd prime the pump, and then you could make the water come out.
You didn't even have a radio as a
No.
child? Now, what would you do for socializing and entertainment at that time?
Well, we did a lot of work. I remember that. But my father, before he married my mother, became a Seventh-day Adventist, so we went to church, hitched up the team. I don't remember, we had games that we played. Lots of things. We didn't have to have toys. We had our own games. Ante-over, hide and seek, hide the thimble.
Kick the can.
Kick the can. It sounds like it'd be really hard to live in those times. Were people generally happier than they are today?
Well, I didn't miss any of those things because I had never seen them. So, yes, I think we were happy. We, most of the time, we lived in the country, which is ideal for growing up.
Now, I know a lot of times when you don't have all the modern conveniences, family ties can be a lot stronger, and I'm sure that the church was...
Yes, we worked with our parents. I remember Mother would give us a little can of kerosene, and we pulled the little worms off of the tomatoes and put them in the little can. And of course, we carried in the wood and picked up chips. When we were out on the prairie, we'd put a sideboard on the wagon and pick up cow chips. They had dried, and they make a very fast fire.
Now, you told me, I know you're a devout Seventh-day Adventist, and you've been sharing with me some of your dietary beliefs and some of your religious beliefs. And I'm just sort of curious, and I'm sure a lot of other people would be as well. What does your diet consist of nowadays? And are there certain foods you recommend or certain foods you would avoid?
When we were children, we had the clean meats.
Clean meats?
The clean meats, not the unclean meats.
Such as kosher meats that Jewish people might consume?
Such as cows, animals that chew the cud, have split hoof. And then the fish had to have fins and scales. And the birds was the birds that were not the birds of prey. Then as we grew up, in my later days, I learned more about healthy foods. So at this present time, we don't drink cow's milk, we drink soy milk. And we are really vegetarians. Occasionally we might go out to have dinner, but we'll only have maybe chicken and fish. We've given up the red meat.
It was obviously working for you. I understand you were riding your bicycle up to 97 years old.
Yes, that is true.
You said if you hadn't had an accident, you'd still be out there riding.
I probably would if my husband, he was trying to get me off of that bike, and I said, no. He wanted to put little things that protection. What do you call that hang on behind? And I said, no, but I should have listened to my husband.
I know that you're real cautious about what you eat, and you mentioned trying to avoid things like sugar.
Yes, sugar and fats are the ones that cause people the most problems.
So
it causes heart trouble, it causes diabetes, it causes many of the, if you eat too much sugar, your bones are not really strong. So, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, lots of them, are very good. And when you cook vegetables, don't overcook them. They should still be green if they're green vegetables. And I make my own bread. We buy the grain, and I have a wheat grinder. So we grind our own flour.
You still do this at your age?
Yes, we still do.
You're still making your own bread at 102
Yes.
years old. Now, I know you're fairly active, even though you've got a few aches and pains and some disabilities, because I've seen you in the thrift store when I was in there shopping around for good deals. Do you still do that a lot?
I haven't been at the thrift store so much lately. I don't need anything, and so, but I did go and get some Christmas lights, and I just hoped that they would be there, because I had the little tree about 2 feet high, and the little lights went out, and I said, well, I'll go to the Goodwill and see what I can find, and I did find lights.
Okay, now, the other thing I'm curious about is your exercise routine. You're still exercising at this point?
Yes, I had to give up my street bike, but I have a stationary bike, and I open up the window, and I use it at least a half an hour, sometimes more.
Every day?
I try to do it every day. I don't always make it, but that's my goal.
What about things like salt, coffee, tea, alcohol?
Salt I use, but I don't over salt. That could be harmful. Coffee, we don't. I have never drank coffee.
Never had coffee in your life?
Never had it.
No alcohol?
No alcohol.
And I know you lean toward vegetarianism.
Yes. Occasionally we'll go out and have some fish and some chicken. We've given up the red meat because we don't think we don't want the mad cow disease.
Doesn't your diet mostly consist of vegetables and grains at this point? And milk, for that matter.
Milk, we drink soy milk.
Soy milk, that's right, you said that. And what about cheese?
We don't eat cheese. Occasionally we'll have this white, what do you call that? It's not the yellow cheese.
Oh, the non-dairy cheese? Made from soy? Now, you lived through the Depression.
Yes, I did.
What was that like?
Well, I graduated from high school in 1929, and that was the beginning of the Big Depression. So the man that gave us our diplomas, he said, I'm handing you a certificate graduation in one hand, and I'm handing you a ticket to the breadline in the other. So it was really tough going, hard to get work. But I always worked because when I was going to high school, I worked for my board and room, and they gave me $5 a month for my toothpaste and little articles. And then in the summertime, I worked for wages. And then when I graduated from high school, I got a job for $50 a month, which was good pay at that time. That was much as the nurses were making. But I wanted to be a teacher, really. But there was no way. With 9 children, there's 8 of us at that time, 8 children and depression. So I knew I couldn't go to college. But I found out that I could go into nursing and work my way through. So that's what I did. So then I graduated from nursing in 1933.
Now, the other thing I forgot to ask you, there are certain condiments that you won't eat. For example, pepper you mentioned was one of them?
Black pepper.
Black pepper, and vinegar is another one, right?
Vinegar.
Anything else?
Anything that's hot when it's cold, probably you should avoid it.
So you avoid hot foods.
But if it is, you know, pepper, if you put it, it's hot when it's cold.
Now this is something that you're basically following because of the teachings of Ellen White?
Well, not especially. I don't know where we got this. I've never had it.
I think she was against consuming
she
vinegar.
She advised against those things.
Any advice you'd share to younger generation?
Well, if you'll be good to your body will be good to you.
Now, I didn't get a whole lot of detail from you about your religious beliefs. I know you're a Seventh-day Adventist, and you've been sharing that with us. How long have you been a Seventh-day Adventist?
I've always been. My father accepted the truths of the Seventh-day Adventists when I was 3 years old.
So you've lived it your whole life?
Yes.
So your whole family's been following this way of eating and avoiding certain foods?
Well, I wouldn't say the whole family. Some of my brother Paul left the church. He was smoking. And my sister Pearl, she married out a man that wasn't a Seventh-day Adventist, and I think she just gradually drifted out. The rest of us stayed in the church.
Now, Olive is just showing me a picture of what she looked like when she was young.
That was the year we were married.
And this is Bill right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can see the similarity. You don't look quite the same anymore, but...
There's a few years difference there.
Would you recognize me?
Well, you know, not really. Well, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Go get our wedding picture, Bill.
So this is your wedding picture?
Yes.
And how old is this?
1944.
Boy, you were beautiful. I'm sorry, you still are. Forgive me. You, Bill.
Go get my graduation picture.
Oh, we've got more coming here. So this is another one from 1933. And there's Olive. Does she look the same? Well, maybe not quite. This is one of Olive's paintings here. And so is this one of the log cabin. Here's a picture of you at age 95 riding your bicycle. It says, still riding strong at age 95. Olive Watson remains physically active and active in her church.
Helens before it erupted.
So
that was my first painting.
This is Mount St. Helens? Before it erupted, I get it. So this is your son at age 55,
yes.
And this is your daughter at age 56. So Bill, even though you're 96, you're still driving?
Oh yes.
And you're somewhat computer savvy too. And
he's 93.
I'm sorry, 93.
That's a humbling experience.
Well, that's nice, and this is your computer here.
The bowls for the corn, for the beans.
Okay.
And the fly and the flew. The flea said the flea let us fly, said the fly let us flee, so they flew out the flaw and the flew.
No farmers.
Well, if you guys eat this healthy every night, it's no wonder you live to be so old.
Well, this is about what we eat. We don't always eat the same thing.